Oh, what is going on, guys? Hi and welcome to another restream here on Zelda Speedruns. Today we have the Link to the Past NMG Tournament 2021 Winners Bracket Round 4 Kyong92 versus shadyforce. And today I'm accompanied by my lovely commentators Matt and Clearmouse. Say hello, guys.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. How are you doing, Matt?
Can't complain. Pretty excited to see how this match turns out. We're getting a little bit deeper into this winner's bracket, so we're getting some of the better runners competing now.
Yeah, I would certainly classify Kyong and Shady as better runners. Yeah, as you said, winners bracket round 4. This is going to be quite the matchup. Shady, this is the second bracket match in the winners bracket. Took out Relkin earlier. And this is Kyong's first match up against Shady. These guys have faced each other quite a number of times before in Brando settings, Spoilerlog in particular. I'm sure there are lots of other tournament matches they've seen, so they certainly are no stranger to each other.
Oh, I just see that I messed up one setting. Sorry for everyone who is missing the race start now. Also you commentators. Where is it? There is it. There we are. Sorry.
Okay.
I was still on the 15-minute timer, but I fixed it early enough.
I was gonna say, Matt, we have to stall for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're
All right, there we go. Now we're off. Yeah, as you were saying, these guys played in the group stage. I believe Kyong was victorious over Shady, so Shady's going to have a chance to get his revenge now when it actually matters.
Oh, yeah, that's right. These guys were in Group A, the best group, of course. That group was Kyong, Duck, Shady, and Airy. That is a crazy group that in order you have to get out of.
I'm going to say Group D is the best group, but I'll accept that for now.
Yeah, but as you said, this is a rematch between Kyong and Shady. Kyong, as you said, was victorious. Kyong came out with a 126 versus Shady's 131. Just in terms of history, in terms of these NMG matches, looks like Kyong is got a 126 against Shady and then a couple 129s against the other guys. Shady looks like right around the 128 to 130 range. So at least performance-wise here in the tournament, they've been relatively close.
Yeah, Shady's been playing quite well in this tournament, getting close to his PB. And Kyong has had, like you said, one really good time. I'm not sure how much NMG Kyong runs anymore, so we'll see if he shows a little rust, although he did have one really good group stage race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this is one of the rewards, right, of being too good, quote unquote, right, is you get placed pretty far deep into the bracket. So your first match isn't really until 2 to 3 weeks basically after groups. So it's actually really important to kind of stave off the rust. I know Shady is very active in Link to the Past stuff in general. I know he's been running and practicing NMG. He's been doing a lot of spoiler races, ladder races in particular. Yeah, so Shady certainly he's very competitive. Yeah, Kyong though, you are also correct. I'm not actually sure how much NMG he's done or Link to the Past he's done recently. But Kyong is not really someone that lets rust kind of rest on him. So fun fact, his PB is about a year old at this point, and he got a 125.43 almost about a year ago, and he hadn't touched NMG prior to that for actually also quite some time, and he on his birthday got a PB of 125.
Yeah, Kyong's one of those guys that I wouldn't be surprised at all if he just dusted it off one day and dropped a 124 out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
He is really good at this game. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're coming up to the one kind of scary part of escape here. Oh, we see Shady grabbing a pot while Kyong's going for some 8/. Kyong's getting a little bit bullied by this green guard coming at him, but both successfully killed the ball and chain, so that's really what you want to see.
Yeah, certainly Ball and Chain is going to be the most difficult boss of Escape. Some would actually even argue this is actually one of the hardest bosses in the game. But certainly this boss is definitely made much more difficult by the fact that he does 1 heart of damage, as we can see. whenever he takes a hit, and the fact that you only kind of have 3 hearts to begin with.
Yeah, so now we just got to make our way back through the escape sequence. Really just all about making sure your movement's clean. Just try not to make any mistakes. Not the most exciting part of the run, I will admit, but still important nonetheless to make sure you can drop a halfway decent escape time. Plus, it's it's decent to calm the nerves a little bit. You just get to, not be in a ton of danger. Just try and get into the rhythm.
Yeah, so keeping calm, and of course not making mistakes is going to be the story of the runs for both these guys. I've definitely seen a lot of runs kind of end on some unfortunate mishaps from runners. So certainly we don't want anything to happen. We don't want anything bad to happen to both the runners. And if something does happen, I certainly hope that it kind of evens out so that neither runner has like an extreme advantage due to something like that.
Yeah, like in Shady's last race to get to this match, we saw a double Vitreous death.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's right. That was the match. Yeah, I remember that too. I can't remember who died first, but it was definitely like, oh my gosh, like this race definitely flipped. And then like 30 seconds later or something like that, like the second victory just happened, and it's like, oh wow.
Yeah, it was just all even after that. So. All right, so now these kind of sewer rooms, there's a bit of RNG that can separate the runners a little bit. Both of them getting okay snake patterns in that one hallway. Now, kind of the major source of RNG and escape is the upcoming key rat. You can go in a few different directions, and a couple of them take a second or two longer than the others.
And of course, the key rat does drop the all-important key that we're going to try and boomerang over to us. We're going to have to hope that some of the rats don't end up dropping any rupees, because it seems like when there are multiple items that are available for the boomerang to pick up, only one of them comes, and it's not oftentimes the key.
Yeah, that's true too. It always sucks when you walk all the way to the door only to get handed a rupee by your boomerang.
Now, of course, money is very important. In the light world, we do want to collect at least 110 rupees, but, we don't really have the pressing need to get so many rupees here in Escape, which is like only the first 6 minutes. We have like at least 20 some more minutes to go.
Yeah, so I'd like to point out that, we were talking about Rust on Kyong's side, just dropping a gold escape right there, assuming that these are his actual splits, which it looks like they are. So a nice 552 on Kyong's side, and Shady a little bit behind, dropping a 557 there. But escape in the long run doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, and certainly when you're going for PB attempts, right, when you're maybe in like a very large race and you think that you have something, it also certainly could be a thing that you try and just save as many frames as you can, right? But in this 1v1, you are literally just racing against the one other person. So, if you end up not, getting something, a few frames here, a few frames there, it's probably not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah,
of course.
Unsurprising, we see both guys picking up the sand cart. There have been people that have skipped in this tournament. Not many, but it's unsurprising to see. It's a lot of safety for a very little bit of time loss.
Yeah, especially, early on, right, we were on 3 hearts coming out of Escape. Nothing terrible mishapped both our runners, which is great. But of course, coming up to Eastern Palace, which is the first dungeon of this game, there are going to be some number of enemies that do 1 full heart of damage, and a lot of things that can do half a heart. We see Kyong getting pretty bullied here on the overworld already with these Octoroks, right? Like these half a heart damages really just do add up. Right, going into Eastern Palace with 1.5 hearts, not going to be ideal, but at least we have, having Sank Heart like here is definitely going to be more peace of mind than anything else.
Yeah, Kyong getting some really weird patterns there, so I don't blame him for getting hit a couple times. So he'll have an opportunity to get back to full health here. There'll be a pot in this room following the cannonball room, and I would imagine you're going to see him boomerang the heart under the pot in the next upcoming Stalfos killing room.
Yeah, we're also going to see, coming up a little bit, in addition to just having health in general, for some safety and buffer, we're actually going to see hopefully some nice damage boosting on both these runner sides in order to kind of speed up getting the big key of Eastern Palace. Oh, look at that. You were so right, Matt. Boomerang that heart and getting a free magic refill.
That's actually not irrelevant, that magic pickup. That will save him a few frames on the kind of fanfare after the Armos fight coming up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And of course, like after we beat every boss, the magic and health refill in this case, is both going to be automatic. But of course, having no magic, coming into Eastern Palace means that we're going to go all the way full up into refilling our magic meter. And so every little bit, especially if it's free, is going to help.
You see a nice, convenient 5 rupee drop on Kyong's side. Just throughout the light world, you want to kind of collect up to about 14 rupees by the end of your Tower of Hera split, and so getting a blue drop in Eastern helps out a lot. So now this room on Kyong's side is probably the trickiest thing to pull off in Eastern Palace. You just want to bump off the Popo and activate that switch while your iframes are going. See both runners executing that very well to get the big key a lot faster than you normally would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some pretty decent Popo RNG to kind of not get in the way of both our runners as well. I mean, every few frames does matter, especially in, against Kyong and Shady.
Yeah, now we're gonna just grab our bow and make our way into the back of Eastern Palace. So again, not a whole lot of danger coming up, but some of these rooms are tricky. Eastern Palace is a bit trickier than Escape. There are a bunch of rooms where you are actually using some kind of speed tech, I guess you'd call it, as opposed to just trying to move cleanly.
Yeah, I certainly would also point out that Shady unfortunately took a hit from a skeleton, which kind of knocked him back down to 2 hearts. Kyong actually has that half a heart of extra buffer coming up to double readies and red Igors. These guys do 1 heart of damage apiece, so hopefully nothing, Shady has to be probably a little bit careful to not get hurt. Both runners looks like also getting some nice arrow drops, always a really nice buffer here from Eastern Palace.
Really nicely executed on both sides. So now we're in the armor fight. Oh, Kyong fired an extra arrow there. Hopefully he can still clean it up. So yeah, so that's going to delay his fight a little bit, but not too big of a deal. Whereas it looks like Shady is on track right here. So that let Shady claw back a little bit of time, but there's only just a couple seconds separating these guys right now.
Yeah, the most important thing of the light world is to get out of the light world.
Exactly. It's all about just avoiding disaster.
Yeah, certainly nothing major so far. And of course, what is the best incentive to get out of at least Eastern Palace and escape? We are going to see the prize claimed by the Pendant of Courage right now from Sahashula. We are going to get the thing that lets us move as fast as we possibly could, which are, of course, are the boots. Makes this the rest of the run much more enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. I see a question in chat is, what does NMG stand for? It stands for no major glitches, which implies that there are minor glitches, and you're about to see the first of those minor glitches on Kyong's side. Oh, hopefully he can get it.
Hopefully we're going to see it.
Okay, he struggled a little bit. Maybe you'll see it first on Shady's side. There we go. So he's going to do a spin attack and hit the A button on the frame after, and that is going to allow him to maintain his boot speed while changing direction. It saves, a decent chunk of time throughout the speed run, and it is one of the trickier things to pull off and one of the more frustrating things to fail.
Yeah, anytime when you can harness the power and the speed of the boost without actually having to pay the cost of actually charging, is definitely going to be really nice. The very first screen is a really nice demonstration of spin speed. You said it's going to be a question of whether or not these runners are also going to go for this screen. Basically, every single time you can see some stairs, there's going to be an opportunity to use spin speed. It looks like actually Shady is going to go for it versus Kyong, which decides to actually just make his way and dashing into the library. Shady actually did a pretty clean spin speed there as well in the entry into the library.
Yeah, that was nice, especially after he had some trouble with the Eastern Palace one. He just kind of got right back on the horse and did the one
That's
spin
right.
speed. Really doesn't save you much time at all.
Good confidence booster, right? Is that, if you can nail spin speeds, maybe it's going to be a sign for the future.
Spin speed it's something that comes and goes. You're just going to have some days where you just can't pull it off. As Shady takes a hit there, does well to step out of the way, because he would have gotten beamed by that arrow guard if he had just started his dash like he was about to. So good heads up play on his side.
Kind of really makes you wonder when you end up dashing, like, why can't I also hold out my shield, at the same time? Because, shields can actually block arrows in this game.
That is a good point, and something I've never thought about.
Yeah, of course, as part of also just this game has good game design, right? Getting the prize from Eastern Palace, heading on over to Desert Palace, we actually see the immediate use of the boots. Not only actually just to knock off the book from the library, right? Lots of long dash lines that we can actually do to actually travel our way over to Desert Palace. And then we're also going to see some nice demonstration inside Desert Palace itself, some really also nice long hallways, clean dash lines, and we're going to use the bonk technique to hopefully cleanly get a small key off the torch here shortly. This bonk is surprisingly missable. I mean, it's like you bonk the wall and you think you get the key, and then every once in a while you just randomly miss, and you have to bonk again.
It's just you don't want to nudge the torch, and by not nudging the torch, sometimes you just go a little bit too far down. So this room that Kyong's coming into is, there's a bit of RNG here in terms of what the cannonball pattern is. So Kyong is using an audio cue, and he knew to stop his dash. He did it a little bit late, but should get a clean dash out. Shady getting the good RNG, so he's just going to be able to dash right up to the chest there and dash right out.
Also, a very slight difference. Shady looks like he ended up getting the arrow pot here a bit early, so he doesn't have to get it. Meanwhile, Kyong decides to get it on his way back. Probably something I've seen more often than runners do on their way back versus down. But I assume it's to each runner's preference to do that when they end up picking up the arrow.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't see that Shady picked it up on the way there. No, it's definitely faster to pick it up on the way back.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why he's picking it up on the way there. I'm sure it's like barely any difference.
If that's the worst thing that Shady's going to do in this entire run, we might see a PB.
True, and now we're heading into the back of Desert Palace, so we're going to get to the kind of one boss in the light world that can have a lot of time variance and is probably the most difficult to pull off, the Lammolas fight. So we're going to see how many cycles each one of these runners takes to kill the worms. But first we just got a few popos to kill, and you might see in this room coming up some newish tech on Kyong's side. By dashing underneath that torch, the movement of all of these enemies gets delayed a little bit, so you can make sure that you get the exact same pattern every time at a cost of very little time compared to doing the room optimally while not doing that strategy.
Oh, that's actually great. I mean, if it's only just like a handful of frames, like trade off between that and consistency, like that sounds like a really RTA viable strat.
Yeah, consistency is kind of king in NMG. So now Kyong into the Lammolas fight. He's going to want to try and get 2 arrows in each of these guys in the first cycle here. Not a great, but not a terrible first cycle. He's got 1 down. Nice pattern there.
Yeah, meanwhile, Shady's side also setting up, got a reasonable, a phase 1. Some short hops, unfortunately, also just continuing on to phase 2, or cycle 2.
Kyong just pulling out a 4 cycle there.
Yeah, Shady is on track to do as well.
Alright, so we're still even here, so that's good. You don't want to see a huge amount of difference in the Lammo fight.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first parts where just due to RNG is going to really be able to make like a separator between the 2 runners. But not today, which is good.
So now we're hitting the Tower of Hairspit. Looking like you're seeing both runners do a slightly safer strat exiting Desert Palace here. It doesn't cost much time over the optimal strategies, so kind of a nice safe thing to do, especially in a tournament run. But the Tower of Hairspit is kind of the most dangerous late world split. There's a lot that can go wrong here, and especially coming up on the fake flipper. So you're going to see these runners jump in the water and screen transition on the next frame and frantically try to get to this whirlpool as fast as they can. Because if they get hit in that fake flipper state, their game is likely going to soft lock.
Yeah, and of course, even it's the road to even to get to that whirlpool is pretty dangerous. You actually just see that Kyong ended up getting some pretty good enemy RNG. No crabs or buzz blobs in his way. Shady unfortunately got a little bit electrocuted. But I mean, like, even when Kyong was trying to frantically swim over to the whirlpool, I think there was a whirlpool imposter by one of the Soras. If Kyong didn't kind of make his way in there faster, he actually probably would have gotten hit.
Yeah, it's always scary to see the guy pop up. You always know you have enough time, right? If you move well, he's never going to hit you. But just seeing him there is always kind of a scary situation.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're on Death Mountain. Nothing has ever gone wrong on Death Mountain. Nice job by Kyung there to slash that dead rock out of the way. So he's going to have a conversation with this old man, collect his mirror, and then you're going to see him hopefully not get hit by a boulder. And this is the most time-saving spin speed in the game. Nice job by Kyung. Going into Hera with full health is something that happens rarely and is always nice to see.
Yeah, Shady looks like he also got a nice spin speed. Unfortunately, he got hit before by a boulder, right after talking to the old man, so something pretty difficult to control. But yeah, also going to Hera though with 4.5 hearts is something very reasonable.
Yeah. So yeah, not bad. Good health totals for both runners. Nothing too much to worry about. And if things do start to go wrong, okay, that was a little scary with that dead rock on Shady's side, but there are plenty of places to pick up health in Tower of Hera if you need it.
Yeah, and certainly so for PB attempts, as we're going to see right before the second to last floor in the Tower of Hera, there is going to be a switch that runners sometimes hit. PB attempts, they don't typically hit it just because if you end up dying to Molder Arm, it's probably going to be the end of your run anyway. But of course, this is a race, right? You really don't want to die at all costs. And, if it takes you like a couple, extra frames in order to hit that switch, and it manages to save you from dying to Molder Arm, that is definitely to your advantage.
Yeah, so now we get the first kind of cutscene of the game here. You see Kyong doing the strategy of just squirming around with the pot on his head while Shady is just biding his time. This is kind of a nice little break in the speedrun. You can think of all the mistakes you made in your Lambo fight and all the game you have left ahead of you.
I'm slightly disappointed in that I've seen Kyung do pot spin speed there, which is you activate spin speed with the pot above your head on the stairs, and he didn't do it this time. So I want some entertainment value back, Kyung.
Kyung with a really good big key time. He's on gold pace in Tower of Hera so far, so he's putting together a good split right here. So this beetle room can be a little bit tricky. Kyung making a small mistake there, but recovering so well that I think you would barely notice if you hadn't seen the room done before. Shady getting the optimal strategy here.
Yeah, it looks like, Kyung still has full health, so he just walked past that blue switch. He looks like he's actually not going to take the safety switch. Certainly very reasonable considering he hasn't lost any health so far, and past performance indicates future returns, then he shouldn't have any issues with Molder Arm, right?
Yeah, and on Kyung's side, you saw our first bomb jump of the game. There are many bomb jumps that allow you to skip portions of the game throughout this run. This bomb jump in Tower of Hera, you see Shady getting it as well, is the most, maybe the Ice Palace, depending on the situation, most punishing bomb jump to fail. It's executing it very well, though.
Yeah,
so now we got, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, if you end up failing the Hera bomb jump, and you end up falling 2 floors from that pit, which I think falling 1 floor is something like 50 seconds, so falling 2 floors is gonna be like a minute or something like that.
So yeah, really nice. Molder Arm is a dangerous boss in that he doesn't kill you that often, but he can knock you off his platform, which is both frustrating and costs a lot of time. Really good fights on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, if you actually... Sorry.
I was looking at Kyung's splits. This is close to gold for him. Assuming these are his real splits, it's actually definitely gold. That was a 5:24 Hera on Kyung's side, which is a really good Hera time.
Okay, so Kyung, like, assuming he hasn't like really picked up this game, very much, is he? I mean, he's, he doesn't rust apparently. Two goals already so far. I mean, this run, regardless of what happens, is going to be a really good run for him.
Yeah, so it looks like only about 13 seconds of separation so far. So really, in the whole scheme of an NMG speedrun, is not a whole lot. So now you're going to see the both runners collect some rupees to pay a monkey that you're going to see in about 5 minutes in Palace of Darkness. Kyong opting for dashing to the right of the tree. You'll see what Shady does. I think Shady shoots the bird. So after they pull this tree, they need to kill 4 enemies before pulling a different tree. And there's some choice as which 4 enemies you kill. It's kind of runner's preference. Some are faster than others, but really not a ton of difference between any strategy you might choose.
Yeah, and of course, we certainly want to keep beams for at least the beginning portion of Aga Tower, but it's also really important that you kill 4 enemies without taking any damage. It was certainly very fortunate, at least on both these runner sides, that all of the stuff underneath bushes when they dashed through them had no danger consequences. No bush guard, no bush bombs to kind of worry in order to nick their health away.
Yeah, there's a lot that can hit you on that Lost Woods overworld screen. It's always so frustrating when it does, because it does cost you quite a bit of time, because you have to find 4 other enemies to kill and then pull a different tree, and I don't know, it can ruin your light world.
we have definitely seen that in multiple PB attempts, as well as I think in this tournament as well.
So you see Kyong successfully killing the 4 enemies. He's going to pull red rupees, which are worth 20 each, out of this tree. And so he is only up to 98 rupees right now. So he's going to have to do some more collecting in Agonym's tower. It'll be interesting to see what he chooses to pick up. So he needs to get to 110 rupees for Palace of Darkness, and there are 6 that are easy to pick up. And so he's going to have to find an additional 6 somewhere. You see him stopping.
There was one.
those singles. You don't see that very often, so you can tell that he knows that he's a bit short.
I am surprised he didn't actually go for both of them. I mean, because it's just a couple extra pixels over to get 2, right? But maybe he's thinking that there's going to be another red drop or another blue drop somewhere.
Yeah, so there's a blue under a pot that he can pick up. Also, these 2 Golden Knight cigars, they're in the Ruby prize pack, so he may get a lucky drop from the one on the right here.
Oh no! That door just sucked him right through! Alright, yeah, so we see one of the important reasons why it's really nice to be able to have beams to begin with for the beginning of this tower. We see both runners ended up dash killing the guards, sword beaming them with 1 slash and then killing them. If you dash kill a guard, it actually does not advance the prize pack, and what we ended up finding out was these blue guards, the mini Helmasaur in Palace of Darkness, and the Pokies in Turtle Rock, which is 45 minutes from now, I'll share the same prize pack. And what we really want to see when we get to Turtle Rock is we want to see a fairy being dropped by the Pokies. So, but the fact that we're not advancing the prize pack now means that we potentially are going to get a nice heal, which is going to be really good for a much more dangerous dungeon later.
Yeah. So you're going to see Kyong pick up his 5 in this room here. So he's going to grab a pot. This is not this. You will not see. He's forgetting which pot it is, but it's this pot up here. There we go.
Not often seen.
He grabbed a heart too. Maybe he knew where that heart was and he wanted to get his beams back. I've never seen anybody do that, but beams are useful to have in these 2 rooms.
Yeah, I guess if you're already going out of your way to get the 5 rupee drop, then maybe it's not that much extra time to get the heart refill.
I guess, but given that he didn't do the beam strat in the Spirit Guard's room, I'm assuming that he just forgot which pot it was.
Oh, unfortunate. In Circle of Pots, that red guard decided to move into Kyong's way, so he couldn't actually do the fast version that we saw Shady do.
So as we said, they were 13 seconds apart coming out of Tower of Hera, and now they are completely tied up. So Shady making up a ton of time in this Tower of Hera split, just because Kyong just had to grab more rupees. So kind of the luck of the drops going Shady's way has really allowed him to catch up here.
Yeah, and just when we think that they're synced up coming into the Agonym fight, this is also we potentially could actually have some pretty big divergence, but hopefully not too much. This fight is one of the largest sources of RNG in this game. The number of blue balls that Agonym throws at you is completely random. Hopefully, it's going to be a very similar number to both these runners, so that you don't have a 30-second difference just because of this fight. But we also just hope that there's not going to be very many blue balls in general, so we can get past this segment.
Yeah, Shady, I'd like to point out, dropping a gold egg tower, so kind of unsurprising seeing how much time he made up there. So we're going to hope that these runners get the same amount of blue balls.
Alright, that was 1 for Kyong so far. 2 for Kyong so far.
Ooh, Shady get a perfect first cycle there, it looked like.
Yeah, and I think there's probably not too much in this case you can, for this fight you can improve upon. Hopefully, I guess the only thing that you can really do is try to knock Agonym towards like the more center of the screen, so that whenever he warps to his next position, it's just slightly that much less distance.
Ooh, Shady getting to 0.
Blue ball, nice.
Oh man, Shady's already 15 seconds ahead of his PB, and he's going to be miles ahead of his PB. So the combined tournament pressure, and this has to be one of his best Light Worlds. I've kind of talked to him about Light World a little bit. He's saying he has hardly any sub-30s, and this is going to be way sub-30.
Hopefully he doesn't feel any pressure, though, right? I mean, like, as you said, so this is, ahead of PB pace, right? He's entering Dark World at a really, really fast time, and he's up against Kyong. Shady, hopefully just shut everything out and just play your game.
Yeah, a 37 Light World, 32 seconds out of his PB, so Shady is definitely gaming. And the traditional, after your best Light World ever, you will never hit the pyramid spin speed. It's impossible. It's just the rule of this game. All
right, so in comparison, so Shady actually ran the NMG weekly right before this, so it's quite a trooper for actually doing a second run, basically right in a row. And in the previous run, it looks like he got a 128 with 4 blue balls. So this run is definitely turning out much better.
Yeah, so and really good Light World on Kyong's side too. You got a 29.47. That is a great Light World time as well, especially for, I think it was 2 blue balls, right, on his side?
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah, Kyong got 2 blue balls. I mean, the fact that Kyong also got 2 gold splits, right, and it's a pretty decent Light World. Both these runners are definitely playing very well today.
See on Kyong's side, he's gonna double back quickly to get that monkey as close to him as possible. Like the old man, he walks kind of slow, so you want to have him as close to where he's going to go as possible before you start the cutscene.
Yeah, and certainly it's a good thing that nobody ended up getting hurt while having Kiki in their possession, especially Kyong. Only having, if you get hit with Kiki, he runs away, and then you have to get 10 more rupees to get him back. In Shady's case, it probably would not have been the end of the world because he's only kind of 2 rupees down, but the Kyong needed to kind of scrounge up a good 10 more. Ari didn't quite behave right in Shady's path, but at least it didn't get electrocuted or hit as it jumped down and to get a first key in the Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, he was okay with the timing on that. Sometimes that berry just doesn't want to get beamed, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So yeah, now we're in the Dark World. This is the much more challenging and more fun portion of the game. Enemies start doing a bit more damage. The splits start getting a little bit longer, more challenging, and there's a lot of interesting and difficult tricks, especially the hammer jump that we are going to have coming up on Shady's side. This is the most challenging bomb jump in the game, and at this level, it is definitely mandatory to do. He's going to have to place a bomb and then stand on a particular y-axis pixel, and it's going to bomb him through a rail and allow him to skip having to waste 40 seconds to grab a key. And so at the same time, you can have a falling bridge behind you. So you're not only do you have to do it perfectly, you're also on the clock.
Yeah, it looks like Shady is actually going to take some time and get his extra menu buffers to make sure the key lines up exactly. Oh no! Unfortunately, does not succeed first time. I'm not sure if he was too far right or maybe too high.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell on Shady's stream. I think he just had a sword buffer that moved him a little bit too far. Because sometimes you're trying to do those diagonal sword buffers and you don't quite hit the diagonal. And so that's going to allow Kyong to get just like a very small lead here.
Yeah, and Kyong definitely had a really nice hammer jump the first time. Yeah, I do see that Shady ended up, very glad that he got it the second time around. He does ideally not take any more damage in this case, because we would actually really like Sword Beams and full health before we kind of tackle the back of Palace of Darkness and Helmasaur. And there are only 3 parts of health here left to refill.
Yeah, beams are very critical going to the back of Palace of Darkness. That Mimic's room that you just saw Kyong do is deceptively very challenging to do well.
Yeah,
He has exactly enough arrows.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kyong is I don't know if you just so Kyong in general is very cognizant of his resource management. Given that he's plays Spoilog and NMG a lot, so but yeah, I'm glad he ended up getting just enough arrows for that. And unfortunately, the Mimics actually ended up dropping some arrows, but I think he ended up killing the green Mimic source, and it was just not going to be in his way in order to pick up.
Yeah, so now we're getting to the back of Palace of Darkness. This turtle room here on Kyong's side, sometimes the RNG just does not let you do it quickly, as you can see on, in this case in particular. It takes a heart of damage. That is not inconsequential. Shady getting a better pattern there and executing it well.
Yeah, there was definitely very nice turtles for Shady. Yeah, and as you said, so that same card that we ended up picking up 6 minutes in after we finished Escape, this is actually one of the biggest reasons why we ended up picking that card up. And we will see, hopefully nothing bad happens to Kyong. Every time that we hit Helmasaur, it's going to be 2 hearts of damage. So if we did not have that extra sand card, or we end up taking damage, right before Helmasaur, you see that there's only 6 hearts available, which means you only get 2 heart hits, and before you end up dying. Very nicely done on Kyong's side, survives.
Close.
Yeah. But whereas Shady having all 7, he has an extra hit as a buffer. Obviously, did not need it for either runner, which is really good to see.
Yeah, nice fights on both sides. A little scary on Kyong's side,
Yeah.
but as long as you're out alive, you're okay. So Shady getting a little bit of that time back, having a slightly quicker Helmasaur fight.
I think both runners end up doing spin speed Helma. Is that right?
Yeah, it looked like it. Yeah, so if you arm that spin speed state that we discussed earlier, your hammer hitbox gets a bit extended. It makes the fight significantly easier because your hammer actually does a lot more damage to Helmasaur than your sword does.
Yeah, if you ever play this game and try to hammer up, you are aware of how inconsistent that hammer hitbox is. So if we can actually use the sword hitbox and still be able to do temper sword damage or the hammer damage, it's definitely much more consistent and much faster.
Yeah, so I would say neither runner having a pod that they're in love with, but so long as you're getting out alive, the race is still close, so it's kind of all good for these guys.
Yeah, don't read what Shady's typing in chat. I think he's just probably more pessimistic than anything else. Alright, so coming out of Pod Overworld, we actually see both Kyong and Shady gonna dash, hopefully, through all of these ropes very safely. Glad neither runner ended up getting lottery. At this point, we're heading off to Thieves Town, which is supposed to be the 4th dungeon that we do in chronological order. Health is probably not going to be the biggest worry on their minds, but Dark World Overworld in general is just very dangerous. Ropas do 2 hearts of damage, Snapdragons do 3 hearts of damage. If you are not careful, you can go into Thieves Town on a pretty high health deficit.
Yeah, Thieves not the most dangerous dungeon, but you definitely want to keep your health because it just having high health lets you have confidence and lets you execute your rooms the way you want to. Alright, so you're going to see both runners get the shovel here. Hopefully we have a 1 dig on both sides.
Kyong also manages to warp at the right place. At least he got the warp, right? Good job, Shady. Shady, taking 50% fewer number of digs than Kyong. 100%, sorry.
Now we're coming up on probably the most mandatory spin speed of the game. There's a red guard on the screen that will really get in your face, and it's impossible to dodge if you're not going fast. So both runners executing it very well.
Yeah, I think you know, if you end up failing spin speed kind of like the first time, I think it's probably not worth the time to retry unless you're on Death Mountain or something like that. That is also one of the spin speeds that if you fail, you will like you can't get past that red guard if you don't have spin speed at that point. You're just gonna take a boatload of damage if you try and dash when he's around. So you can't actually just walk, but of course you're just gonna lose a bunch of time as well.
So this room, this screen, I guess, on Kyong's side, it's really kind of 3 tight dashes. It feels really good when you pull it off, but it's a screen that's easy to mess up. Both runners executing it very well there. So yeah, like I said, Thieves Town, intended 4th dungeon in the game, but the difficulty doesn't really ramp up that much over Palace of Darkness. But we're doing this dungeon second so that we can get the dungeon prize, which is the Titan's Mitch, which will allow us to upgrade our sword much earlier in the run than you otherwise would be able to.
Yeah, so on entry into Thieves Town, you see that both runners end up pulling the statue slightly to the left. This is actually somewhat more intentional, just because if you end up pulling the statue to open it up more towards the center or to the right, you actually can run into a chance of getting hit by the wandering ghost that's right next to that's right below the dungeon. And no reason to take 2 hearts of damage for no reason.
True. So kind of nice Thieves Town so far for both these guys.
Yeah, the pink Zizak also behaved for both runners, didn't also move in a position where when you jump down, you just land directly on top of him, and then also you're saving yourself another 2 hearts.
Yeah, so on Kyong's side, these kind of 2 rooms coming up are 2 of the rooms that really make or break your Thieves Town. You want to read the RNG in that room and get the dash. In this Hellway room, you want to get on a specific pixel. Kyong didn't quite get it, but got a pretty good pattern despite not getting it. Shady not getting it either. I don't think she had the RNG to get it anyway. So really good Hellways on both sides, especially considering that neither of them got the Hellway dash.
Yeah, and the fact that they were both able to recover and not get hit at all is really impressive. I mean, like, they made that look super easy. When that hallway doesn't go right, you can easily lose like 3 to 4 to 5 hearts of damage very, very quickly, just because you kind of just get bodied by all the enemies. And even I think most of them even do 1 heart, but if you end up getting hit 4 or 5 times, it's pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah, Shady getting bullied by one of those crickets, which surprisingly do 2 hearts of damage at this point in the game. But being down 2 hearts in Thieves Town, not a big deal.
And certainly, both runners are past the most dangerous phase of Thieves Town, all things considered, right? Like, the hallway is probably the biggest source of danger. Everything else is pretty much going to be more or less predictable at this point.
So Kyong grabbed that bomb. Kyong is really good on bombs, whereas Shady is still dependent on a drop. So that red Zizak there is in a prize pack that you want to keep your eye on. That will drop a bomb eventually. And for Shady, he's really got to pay attention to what these guys are. So he just got the magic drop. So his next enemy that he kills in that prize pack will drop the bomb. So he'll likely get in Skull Woods, which is good. Because managing your bombs is something that's really important in this speedrun, as well as your arrows, actually.
Yeah, it's you definitely hear a lot of runners talk about their arrow count. I think just because it's maybe arrows are just slightly more expendable. For example, from like the Lamela fight. Bombs are definitely lesser talked about, but it's just as important and actually can end up make or breaking your runs. Right? You run out of bombs in Ice Palace after Ice Palace bomb jump. You don't have something for you fail spooky action in Mire. You don't have a backup bomb. Right? Like these things are like multiple minute losses at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're to the blind fight. As we all know, blind is a scripted fight. If you do the exact same thing every time, blind will do the exact same thing every time. So these runners have this fight mapped out in their head for every movement. Kyong having a pretty good fight, takes a hit there, but still gets him down pretty easily. Shady, a little bit of trouble there, but cleans it up. Not bad.
Yeah, it's I mean, this is the best of course, for every boss, you want to kill them, as quickly as possible. This is really one of those fights that on the refight it actually gets significantly harder. If for whatever reason you end up dying to blind, you come back to this room, and unfortunately it's no longer scripted in that sense, because you start at the bottom of the screen and blind starts at the top. So you have to run up there, and then not only are there lasers and blind and fireballs that do 22 points of damage, his movements are much more erratic as well.
Yeah, ironically, maybe the easiest boss fight, but the hardest refight if you mess it up. So we stayed pretty even through Thieves Town there. I think both runners had the exact same Thieves Town time, actually, so no time gained or lost.
Yeah,
so now we're going to run a few errands to get our Tempered Sword.
Yeah, we decided to, defeat Thieves Town, which is the dungeon. So of course, what's going to be kind of laying around the dungeon is going to be a bunch of money for all of the prizes that the thieves have amassed throughout the years in Dark World. And as part of our Tempered Sword that we're going to claim right here from the frogs, it's going to cost us a paltry 10 rupees after we ransack 600 from the village. Poor chicken, man. Alright, so you also see that both runners decided to kind of leave their portal here right at the edge of the screen and then dash over. I think this is actually a relatively more recent strat. It saves a little bit of time. I think the older one was you leave your portal right at the door in order to screen transition, so you can let the game know that you have come back at a later time in order to claim your Tempered Sword.
Yeah, really no time difference between the two. It's just the one that they're doing is just a lot easier to do well, is kind of why it's being almost universally adopted.
Okay. I've definitely seen runners on accident run into the portal when they didn't want to, so I actually don't know if I mean maybe it's just more consistent though.
Yeah, we've all done that for sure. It's just, the other strategy is just really hard to pick up those rocks quickly and optimally. That's kind of the big difference. You don't have to do that. As we see, Kyong hopefully going for the fence dash here. Ooh, taking his bonk. That's okay. At least he gave it a good attempt. See if Shady can pull it off.
Nicely done.
Nice job on his side. So yeah, now we're heading into the Skullwood split. This is the intended third dungeon in the game. Not the most challenging split, but still can give you a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and one of the benefits, of course, Skullwoods and Thieves Town being readily available. One of the reasons why we want the Tempered Sword is, I think it does save something like 20-ish seconds off the total run. The fact that we do have Tempered Sword for the Mothula fight as the dungeon's boss is going to be much more consistent and faster. Because if we come here with Master Sword, it takes 8 hits to hit Moth. It only takes 4 with Tempered. And yeah, and that arena, like you want to get out of there as fast as you possibly can.
Nice mummy statue rooms on both runners' side. That is one of the most challenging rooms in the game. And you saw on Shady's side, he killed both of those jellies, and he wanted to get his bomb there. And 75% of the time, he would have gotten his bomb there. So that's a bit unlucky for him, because he needs that bomb.
I guess he's like not in the worst position. You could always just pick up a couple extra ones in Ice Palace, right? I guess, but it's just slower, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there are backups everywhere. It's not a huge deal. He can decide what he wants to do. It's just can be a bit of a pain in the butt and cost you a little bit of time. That's all.
Yeah, we also see Shady coming out of Skullwoods, using his iframes to kind of walk through that rope. Always kind of cool to see.
And now we're getting to the back of Skullwoods. Kyong there taking an unwanted hit there from that Ropa. That was a little bit unlucky that thing jumped that way. So yeah, and Kyong, again, getting a little bit of bad RNG. You can get a dash if that firebar cooperates. That will take you right through that locked door. We'll see if it'll happen on Shady's side. Yeah, he got the good RNG there.
Now, of course, is health ever an issue? It's not unless you take damage. Hopefully, if done properly, there's going to be no damage taken on either side. Moth is going to be somewhat of a more dangerous fight if you let the fight go on too long because of all the spikes. So this is another reason why we want Tempered Sword for this fight. Hopefully we're going to see Kyong be able to do a dash poke, which is going to let us get 2 hits for the price of 1, and then he only needs 2 more slashes after that.
So he did not, okay, he's in trouble now. He's got to be real careful. I think he still has 2, oh no, he only had 1. Okay, that's not bad.
Okay, so yeah, he probably got the dash fight. Shady also had a really nice moth fight there. You actually see that barely any spikes moved in this case, so...
Yeah, so that's going to bring us a little bit closer together again. This race just seems to keep getting tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good that Kyong made it out of that alive. The longer that moth fight goes, the more challenging it gets. You saw him, he didn't quite get the double poke, so he had to do an extra slash, and that extra slash just gives Moth more time to start flying up into the top part of the room where he doesn't take damage, and allows more of those spikes to start flying around. So good for him to clean that up.
Yeah, and just like the way I guess like the game coded Moth is that Moth actually doesn't take spike damage, which happens to be also the same damage as the gold sword. So if you end up knocking Moth into the spike, it does 0 damage, which is why it's another part of like a more frustrating part of this fight is you want Moth to register the Temper Sword fight, the Temper Sword damage that you have versus the spike damage you knock him into.
Yeah, so Shady gaining 6 seconds, I think, in that split. So now we are only 4 seconds apart as we head into Ice Palace. So
No.
Kyong does not want to take that damage, that's for sure. He'll have some opportunities to get that hurt back, but having beams going into Ice Palace is fairly important for a lot of the room strategies.
Yeah, so they're gonna, so as you said, there are going to be a couple opportunities here where Kyong can end up picking up like a rock or a flower in order to get an extra heart drop, which is exactly going to be what he wants. They are going to come up against this rope that hopefully neither runner gets lotteried on, not that one. Kyong's going to dash, and at least he got killed. Oh wow, that looked pretty close on Shady's side. Alright, so at least no damage so far taken thus far. Hopefully Kyong's going to be able to get his beams back soon though. Yeah,
neither runner doing kind of the safe strat. Kyong nudging that tree too, which makes it a lot more likely, I think, that the rope will get you. So Kyong gets his heart back. Nothing lost there really.
Yeah, just a slight moment of panic when we end up kind of nudging that red guard earlier. So we see both runners not throwing in a rock into Catfish's circle. Getting the quick medallions, you see that both runners doing a right bonk. This is actually set up the quick warp. You see that both runners end up warping back to the light world 34 frames faster, and that bonk lets you unlock the camera, pick up the quick medallion, and get that quick warp for free.
Yeah, so now we're going to see the reason why we picked up all that money, which is to buy the flippers from Zora. This screen is really tricky. You want to dash, kind of take the most direct line as possible to get to Zora, but at the same time, you don't want to jump in the water. And it's easier said than done. Shady taking a little hit there. He again will have an opportunity to get that hurt back, but just a little bit of bad luck there with that Zora shot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for what it's worth, if you take damage, you want to take it early, just because you'll have more opportunities to try and pick up a heart. It's certainly, it's certainly hope that Shady will be able to get a heart back from one of the light world drops. There's crabs. There's also, I think, another rock that you can pick up.
Yeah, there's a few different places, and it's not the end of the world not having beams, but it does make the dungeon a lot more consistent. A lot faster. Kyong getting some decent RNG on this screen here will allow him to get to that portal unabated. Shady can do it too. It's a little bit tighter though. Don't blame him for taking damage there. Half a heart means nothing to him at this point, so really not a big deal at all, right? He didn't get a heart on the way, I don't think.
No, and in fact, when he dashed down, like all the crabs moved away, so it wasn't even going to be like he basically had to go hunt for another enemy kill. So maybe it just wasn't worth it, Shady. And we did see Shady also in chat earlier. He is most likely watching the restream, watching himself and Kyong. So he probably knows like how close he and Kyong are at this point.
Yeah, I saw Shady finally getting his bomb in kind of one of the last places possible there, which was good for him. So he's back on track now. So now Kyong's side, we're getting to the real challenging parts of Ice Palace, this switch room is kind of tricky to do optimally. Kyong getting some good RNG here on his jellies, which will allow him to throw that bomb and hit the switch. I'll say rip to those arrows that drop, but that's okay.
Yeah, Shady also getting some pretty fortunate Bari luck. No electrocutions, also dropping down pretty well. Alright, so we're going to see actually one of the nice advantages of being able to have beams for Ice Palace. Not only were you able to beam away at bars with sword beams on the second room, we also saw that also happen on this room as well. You know, we also see Cal unfortunately also got electrocuted. It's probably not going to be the health loss at this point that he's, you know, maybe minorly annoyed about. It is actually just the time loss that you have to sit through in order to, you know, like the electrocution animation and the knockback.
Yeah, nice bomb jumps on both sides. That Ice Palace bomb jump saves an absolute ton of time, and getting it first try feels real good. Kyong had a little trouble with his penguin lineup room there. Shady has beams, which is not always a strategy people practice, but he knows what to do. Really nicely executed on his side. As we see Kyong hitting the stair clip. Nice bit of swag there.
So Shady's not going to go for it. Stair clip is really nice. Unfortunately, Kyong ended up, you know, getting spit out on the left side. Not going to be, I mean, it's basically the same amount of time. You end up getting spitting out on the right side. I think it does save, I don't know, something like half a second or something like that.
Yeah, so now we're heading to the Cold Stair fight. Cold Stair is super dangerous. The puffs themselves will do 4 hearts of damage, and there's falling ice at the same time, which will do 2 hearts of damage.
Yeah,
we'll see what strategy Kyong does.
Yeah, if done properly, no one's going to take any damage, and it's going to be an easy peasy fight.
Kyong dropping his poke, so he's in a little bit of trouble now.
Yeah.
You just gotta. Oh wow, that was so unlucky.
No, Kyong.
Dude, that puff just charged him down. That does not always happen. That was a lot of bad luck on his side. As you see Shady cleaning up nicely with his 6 slashes.
Yeah, and it was actually going to be one of the differences that Kyong had going in. Kyong was only down to 8.5 hearts of health, and so he could only take 1 cold stair puff's damage. You know, Shady actually ended up having 9 hearts, so he actually could take another hit. Now it ended up not needing it because he had a nice cold stair fight. But still, this is something that you really just don't want to see.
Yeah, so there are a few different things Kyong can do here. He's opted to just farm a little bit of magic and go right back into Ice Palace. I don't know what the fastest thing to do is, but he is now out of magic, so he is going to have to rely on a penguin to drop magic for him in that lineup room again, which is very likely to happen, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but... this is a very one of the more punishing deaths in this run. It is very unfortunate since we had such an amazing race going up to this point.
And of course, you know, there is an alternative backup. Kyong, not even have to wait for the penguin room. He just gets his full magic here, right here, and another penguin. Of course, an alternative is if you are short on magic, and you know, a very nice and easy thing to do is actually just to leave Ice Palace and go directly to Swamp. It is a dungeon that you actually don't need any magic for, and once you kill Argus, you just get a free magic refill for free.
So you see him grabbing some extra bombs there, which makes sense. He only had 1 left, so he needed 1 anyway.
He ended up getting a 4-pack for his troubles.
So yeah, Shady hitting into Swamp Palace. You're going to see Kyong doing his 2nd Ice Palace bomb jump. Looks just as good as the first based on what I see. So Shady is still on PB watch. So he's kind of, let's see, what, about 23 seconds ahead still? So we still have some interesting things going on his side for sure.
Alright, Kyong hopefully won't take any more damage at this point. Still going for the stair clip. Very fortunate to get his spit out on the right side. Sometimes you can actually end up taking some damage if you get spit out on the left side, because I guess there's an invisible spike or something. Taking 1 more heart of damage would put Kyong at 4 hearts, and we've seen how hard Cold Stair can hit, so the fact that he has 5 hearts basically still gives him a 1-hit buffer.
Yeah, so we see now Kyong dropping into his Cold Stair refight. Hopefully this one goes better.
Yeah, that would be I like not dying.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Not
good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Oh, phew. Yeah. So we saw the falling icicles and doing too much damage. So Kyong did have a little bit of buffer, but luckily the cold stare puffs decided to stay where they are, so Kyong could just slash at them. Alright, meanwhile, Shady is in Swamp Palace, making his way pretty cleanly through so far. No damage taken, which is always kind of nice to see. This is the second chronological crystal that we're supposed to go to, so given that we are coming in here with significantly more health than we're kind of expecting, this dungeon isn't really probably going to be the most dangerous, just in terms of dying. But of course, that being said, there are lots of enemies that do half a heart here, 1 heart there, and before you know it, you actually could take a lot of damage very quickly without kind of realizing it, because you have kind of like a false sense of security that you just have so much health. And it's like, oh, like, and I can just keep going basically through all this.
Yeah, there are a lot of enemies that can just get in your way and bump you around and cost you a little bit of time. It's like just like that. That stealth was,
yeah.
That was bad luck movement right there. Like that guy can go in different directions, but he did just walk exactly where Shady did not want him to walk. You see on Kyong's side, he's going to get his Ether Medallion in the Swamp Palace split, whereas you will see Shady get it in the Mire split, which is going to come up after Swamp Palace. This is just kind of runner preference.
Yeah, and I think it probably depends on what runners are probably comfortable with, just in terms of what they want to go into each respective dungeon for. So it would be actually really great in order to keep the sword beams for the second room in Mire. And of course, if Ether is all the way up here in Death Mountain, we've kind of seen how brutally punishing Death Mountain overworld can be. And so if you decided to use basically and just take the more riskier overworld and go into Swamp Palace, where you actually don't really need beams for, maybe that's more Kyong's preference.
Yeah, looking at Kyong's split, I think he gets Ice Rod here too. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, you can either get both in Swamp, both in Mire, and some people get Ether and Swamp and Ice Rod in the Turtle Rock split.
Yeah, so long as you have the Ether Medallion before you go into Mire and the Ice Rod before you go into Turtle Rock, you are basically all set to go. And even though we could actually visit this area before, basically right when we first entered Hyrule Overworld, these crabs can do 2 hearts of damage if you're not careful. So long as these are kind of like dangerous item picking up, we do this before Swamp, it's probably okay.
Yeah. The other good thing about Swamp is it gives you kind of an opportunity to restock on your resources. Shady is low on arrows, so you're going to see him pick up 1 more arrow pot in this kind of restock room coming up before the Argus fight.
So he'll pick up arrows. Do you think he'll also pick up a bomb too, since it's like just right there?
Yeah, in a race situation, he would definitely will.
Okay.
Because in an RTA attempt, at least I wouldn't pick up that bomb, but in a tournament race situation, you don't want your run to end because you failed the spooky action glitch, especially after you just watch your opponent die to cold stare and you have a 3-minute lead. So.
Is this going to be fast enough to get anti-fairy skip? Nope, unfortunately.
So you're doing Shady doing the good old-fashioned, just straight-up hookshot Argus. This loses about 6 or 7 seconds over the optimal strat, but is very consistent and a lot easier to pull off.
Yeah, looks like he's also going to go for the 2-spin phase 2 Argus. So you can actually kill Argus a bit faster with the Fire Rod, and then also so 2 Fire Rod shots and then 1 Sword Spin. But this 2 Sword Spins are definitely much more consistent.
Yeah, so nicely cleaned up fight on his side. It looks like he's running against his balance splits, so whatever these splits are he's running against, he's about even with coming out of Swamp Palace, which is good. And so yeah, now he's going to Mizzenmire. You're going to see him do that same Death Mountain and Ice Rod shopping trip that Kyong did. And hopefully he will maintain his sword beams, as you were saying, because you want to have those going into the second room of Mizzenmire.
certainly not going to be the end of the world if we don't have sword beams. That there are backup strat, I think, with the fire rod, that you can take that one extra shot instead of killing the Popo with the sword beam. But of course, as we come up to Mire, so it is the 6th dungeon of this game, and we do know that from Ice Palace, the dungeon prize was the blue mail, and so one of the so now after you've defeated Ice Palace, the game thinks, oh well, you have blue mail. That means all of the enemies are half damage. So therefore, let me ramp up the difficulty and how hard each enemy hits. Everything in Mire basically hits like 4 hearts at this point. So and we really want a good hardy 7 hearts. 5 is minimal before we can head over to Vitreous. So just be really constant. So the more health you have at the beginning, certainly the better it'll be.
Yeah, you see Shady using the hookshot going up Death Mountain to get climb those stairs faster, as well as get the spin speed state, if I can talk. That is the reason why you wait until Mire to do this shopping trip, even though it's a little riskier. That hook climb strategy is slightly faster, although not much faster than using the spin speeds, as you saw on Kyong's side. But it's also a little bit more dangerous. Because, like you said, health is more important in Mire than it is in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, and certainly, of course, for a race setting, you just run your game, right? Whatever you think is consistent and comfortable with, that is going to be the thing that you're going to go with. There's kind of not really much reason to kind of deviate from muscle memory, especially when there is a lot of pressure. Pressure from facing against a really tough opponent, being in a race setting, and also right now, especially in Shady's case, he is up against running a pretty good PB pace here.
Yeah, for sure. So Mire's one of my favorite splits. There's a lot of interesting tech that goes on in Mire, as well as a very challenging boss fight. You see Shady step below that rock to pick it up. He's doing that to set up the spooky action glitch, which you're going to see him use after he goes into the basement of Misery Mire.
One of the most awkward menus to Ether.
So I will point out, last time Shady tossed the bird, but does Shady toss the bird 24 seconds ahead of PB? Let's see his bird tossing commitment here. Oh my god, he did it.
He is committed.
Well, I'll give him credit for doing it. If you're going to do it 24 seconds ahead, then I got no problem with it anymore. Because I gave him a little bit of crap for doing it in the last race. As you see him going to Mire 2, best room in the game right here.
Yeah, even with sword beams too. Let me see. He actually had a really nice Death Mountain. Oh no.
Yeah, so Shady's just going to go to the right side here and pick up his key and make his way towards torches. Then we're going to get a good idea of exactly what type of pace Shady's on. As you see, hopefully we get to see Kyong attempt a zero cycle Argus coming up. Yeah, Kyong definitely does this. Yeah, okay.
Kyong definitely goes for zero cycle every time.
So this is a super challenging strategy, which he absolutely nailed. Yeah,
absolutely. That was a really great fight. Yeah, from Kyong. So zero cycle Argus, requires some very very high level execution as well as some cooperation. From Argus. For example, if he kind of rushes at you and moves downward, it's actually I don't know if it's impossible at that point to get zero cycle, but it's certainly going to be very difficult. So the fact that we got some cooperation and the fact that it's Kyong had a really really nice Argus fight there.
So that is a 106.18 torches on Shady's side. So Shady is very very much on 126 pace, which I know he's been going for lately. This is 125 pace for a lot of people. So he is really crushing it so far in this run.
Yeah, and certainly nothing like a 17-second cutscene, right? That you can just kind of, reset, relax, take a couple deep breaths, and just go right back into it. And Shady also not taking really hardly any damage, so he's actually in really good shape as well. Going into Mire, so he is going to spend a little bit more hearts to try to get this last key off of these spikes before he heads downstairs.
See if he goes for the spark gamble here. Yeah, looks like it.
Nice.
Gets an okay deboost. Not terrible. Yeah, that he can do. The spark can give you a little bit better than that, but that's about as good as it gets there. See Shady grabbing our dungeon prize, the Cane of Samaria, which in other speedruns is the most broken item in the game, but in this one, you know, just lets you progress through and gives you some interesting strats in Ganon's Tower as well.
Alright, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Kyong do the bird toss. Oh, Shady hooking over to the pot and not, you know, and taking care to not get hit by that wizard robe is actually kind of, well, actually, is hooking to the pot the safer version? Or is dashing safer?
No, I believe the dash is the safer version where you kill the whiz robe. See Shady here, he's going to kick up some dust before he lays that block down. That's going to preserve the state that he created by picking up that rock that we mentioned a couple minutes ago. See on Kyong's side, a really nice Mire 2 there. So that's going to allow him to fire rod this spike to hit a switch further up in the room. That looks good. And then in this room, he is going to do a specific movement and fire rod a anti-fairy, which will hit a switch above. And now he's headed towards the Vitreous fight. So Vitreous is being the real killer in this tourney. It's kind of Ganon's employee of the month here, just really taking out a lot of runners. So hopefully Shady can get through this unscathed.
Yeah, it looks like he ended up getting nicked by that anti-fairy. It has 6.5 hearts going in, which is still okay. A 7 would be comfy. 5 is minimal, just like we see right here. Really nice, actually. Yeah, Vitreous fight. You know, being able to basically kill all of the eyeballs with 3 sins. And of course, the requisite 8 arrows to kill the big eye. So of course, you know, as Vitreous being a very dangerous boss, as a 6th dungeon, every eyeball does 4 hearts of damage, which is something we really don't want. However, the goop that surrounds Vitreous only does 1 heart. So what you saw Shady here do is he took 1 heart of damage from the goop, damage boosted himself, and then just rammed himself right in the middle of all the eyeballs to do sword spins. And 3 sword spins later, all the eyeballs were just dead.
Yeah, great 0 cycle there. So I didn't look at his catch time, so I don't know where he's going to be at in relation to his PB here. I guess we'll just wait a couple seconds. Okay, so it looks like he's going to be about even with these splits again. So still about 23 seconds, 22 seconds ahead.
Looks like Kyong opted not to go for a Spark Gamble. So we're going to also see him go pick up his dungeon prize. He does have going in for full health, so he's going to be a little bit more comfortable going in to the Vitreous fight.
Okay, they're getting a little bit of bad RNG coming up Death Mountain, but he didn't get stuck, so that's the important thing. Getting to Turtle Rock can be challenging at times. There's dead rocks, these cabbages everywhere.
Tried to take solace from some of the rocks, but unfortunately you still get bouldered. Very rarely do we see runners actually being able to go into Turtle Rock with full health, just because of this. I mean, it's just RNG, and you just have to pray that you get something good.
Yeah, Turtle Rock, another very dangerous split. He will have an opportunity to refill his health from the prize pack that you discussed, 40 minutes ago in Agonym's Tower, but getting a good pattern there, not getting dead rocked on the way up. That's really all you can ask for at this point. So Shady's going to get into TR in pretty good shape, it looks like. You see a nice spooky action happening on Kyong's side as well.
Alright, is Shady going to get the quick warp over to the Dark World?
That was not the quick warp, unfortunately.
That quick warp is harder than it looks. Yeah, so, Shady only taking 1 heart of damage here coming to TR is definitely, more fortunate than not. If we were to actually keep sword beams, we actually have the luxury of beaming some Baris from afar to give us no chance that they're going to be able to knock us off the conveyor belts. Kyong, that is a really nice Vitreous phase 1.
Yeah, great fight on his side.
Alright, at least... Oh, that Bari was coming for Shady. I was going to say, the first one kind of moved out of display. The second one just barely missed him. He has sword beams. Those guys wouldn't have been a problem at all.
That's true. That dead rock really kind of ruined that a little bit. So one of the big reasons you want to preserve that fairy is because of this room that Shady is in right now. He's going to do a strategy. Oh, he bonks, so you might not see it. So he took the hit there. I wouldn't be surprised to see a mirror here. No, he's not going for Shady. Has wow, what a boss.
Wow.
He does not care. Okay, so this is a bit scary now. Shady does have the fairy price back preserved, so hopefully this pokey here before Chomps is going to drop that fairy for him, which will give him a little bit more leeway.
Ideally, we would have a maximum of 7 hearts of damage taken. Oh no!
No, never happens when you need it. So now he's in Chomps is scary. Good pattern. Nice. That looks. Oh, what is happening?
Wow. Shady maybe didn't move.
Okay, Shady has balls of steel. That was unbelievable. He just stood there and stared that Chomp in the face and waited for him to move on PB pace, mind you. I would have died 100 times out of 100 in that situation. All right, so hopefully this next will give him his fairy drop.
Still recovering from
it doesn't seem like he needs it. He seems to be completely unfazed by any of this like precarious situation.
And I'm certain at this point we don't have Shady's audio on, but he does, I'm sure, his heartbeats. All right, so he got the heart and the fairy drop. Definitely gives him a lot nicer, cushion. Doesn't have full health back, which is what ideally we would like to have up for the upcoming Crystal Roller Room. But so 10 hearts is much nicer than only 2 hearts.
Yeah, for sure. As long as you get the fairy and you make it alive, it's all good. I'd like to point out, Kyong pulling up a gold mire there by 3 seconds. I'm beginning to become not quite convinced these are his actual splits given the number of golds, or maybe he's just really gaming outside of that Cold Stare fight.
I mean, his end time set's 125.43, so I think these are his real splits. But we can certainly ask him about it afterwards. Alright, so Shady, doesn't have sword beams for this upcoming room, so he's gonna do probably knock down the Kina Samaria in order to hit the switch from afar. If we have sword beams, we can actually beam the switch, save something like probably like a half a second's worth of time.
Yeah, Shady opting for a slightly safer strat there. That prevents the small possibility of you getting stuck in that little area with the small chest there at the cost of not a whole lot of time, so all is good.
And he still has a little sliver of magic left for the crystal puzzle room. This is going to be a lot nicer, so he's going to be able to lay it down the Kina Samaria block and then detonate it when he needs to, as opposed to kind of like trying to maneuver around the enemy RNG and taking the 2 pot away. Yeah,
so this laser skip, he's going to slap. Oh no, he's going to use the block. Okay.
Okay.
So now he's out of magic, so it makes this upcoming switch room, as you were saying, a little bit trickier. He's going to have to throw some pots here, probably.
Yeah, that was some pretty nice maneuvering, though, on his side to get around the mini Helmasaur. You can see why we would like a Kina Samaria block. Sometimes enemies just don't behave.
Yeah, having to pull out the boomerang, not a huge deal. He got a bit of bad RNG there. Like, it's not all the time that both the anti-fairies and the Pokey are kind of in your area when you're trying to throw that pot.
Okay, so I imagine Shady's going to do a backstory strats here. So yes, he's going to run into the behind of Trinex and try and knock off both of heads this way. If you do backdoor and you do it correctly, pretty much guarantees a 1 cycle from Trinex. You see only 1 center head attack. So pretty well done phase 1, and I assume it's going to be 2 sword spins and then the slash on Shady's side. Yeah. Really
Nicely executed there. Kyong himself is putting together a pretty good toe rock. He pulled off the roll room nicely, and see what type of Poke's 2 RNG he gets. Well, that was not too bad. Going back for the magic makes sense. He's gonna not opt to grab that heart.
Actually, looked like it was quite in his dash line path. It's not gonna be in the world, of course, and he doesn't have sword beams here.
Yeah, so I expect in this Crystal Roll Room you'll see a slightly more optimized strategy on Kyong's side. He's gonna lay a block, explode it, lay another one, grab the key, and then explode this block. Oh, he's opting for the bonk. Sometimes you can beat that roller if you do it really cleanly, but I think he saw he wasn't quite fast enough.
Yeah, and thanks to that full magic drop that we saw from the Pokies earlier, Kyon's not going to have any worries about magic. He's going to, if he opts to fast middle seat, that's also great. If he opts to the Cadence Maria or something similar that we saw Shady do, that's also going to be great. But he's going to be able to have the Cadence Maria for that puzzle room right before Trinex.
Yeah, so on the Shady PB watch, we're 13 seconds ahead still. Not his best TR, but listen, he made it alive and he's still ahead. TR is really where a lot of good pace runs go to die, and his is still alive, so that's kind of all you can ask for.
Yeah, coming up, we're going to head into GT, where, of course, no runs have ever died in GT. Everything is perfectly easy and consistent.
Yeah, GT, definitely the most difficult dungeon. It's not super dangerous, but there is, like, in the Gauntlet, a lot of RNG. Kyong's got to double back for his magic there. And especially in this type of situation, can be very tricky. So I'm assuming we're going to see some backdoor Trinex on Kyong's side as well. That looks like it's going well so far.
Yeah, it's a good fire rod switch over on the last hit. Sometimes, if you don't switch over at just the right time, you can not be able to switch over. Sometimes you switch over too early, and then the heads aren't dead yet, so you have to go like switch back. It's just a mess. Really nice Trinex fight though on Kyon's side.
Yeah, so Shady progressing his way through the GT basement. Basement is definitely the easier section of GT. Not a whole lot of danger in this. Like, he got through the switch room squid, which they can be surprisingly tricky. He is short on arrows. You may see him go for the arrow chest before the Ice Armors fight, or he could grab a pot as well.
Yeah, we want 18 arrows in order to kill Armos, ideally, and this upcoming one is actually going to put him at one too few. And early on, when Shady first entered the basement, we actually did see that Shady opted to not pick up the small key off the torch. So there are 3 small keys of choice for runners to pick up one of them. Looks like, of course, like the torch one is by far the most conservative, like the safest one. But it looks like Shady probably is just going to go for one of the ones up top. Either, I assume he's going to go for the one pre-Moldrum too, but he can also go for the mini helmet one as well.
Yeah, nice Ice Armors there on Shady's side. Really good basement. He's going to have a fairly solid mirror time here. So now he's just got to complete the hardest part of the game. So,
what? There's been so many other parts that are so difficult.
But Upstairs GT is definitely the most fun part, and it's also the most interesting to watch high-level runners execute. Like, even just starting with these Mimics rooms, some of the most difficult rooms in the game to execute well. Just having the proper movement in here is really tricky.
Yeah, Shady looks like also he's got a wealth of arrows to his quiver, which is going to be really good. Just take the time in order to pick up that hard drop. You know, he is certainly aware of where Kyong is. Any amount of health, especially you know stuff that just kind of like almost right in your path, is going to be beneficial to keep you alive, which is the most important thing at this point for him to finish this run.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how Shady does it. Ganon Ball Z opts to walk it, which is just as good.
Yeah, Ganon Ball Z is such a tough room to learn for not a whole lot of time save. So now you see Shady getting to the gauntlet. It's 5 rooms, just kill all the enemies as fast as you can. There's a lot of RNG in here. He'll know most of these enemy patterns. Gets through G2 pretty well. Had a little trouble in G1. Getting a bad pattern here in G3. Ooh, using some extra fire rod shots there, so he's got to be a little bit mindful of his magic.
I'm only going to assume that because he took so many fire rod shots, he's going to probably take a magic pot after this upcoming room, after Lambo 2. Yeah,
the problem is that he can't get the 1 cycle ammo with the amount of magic he had and still do what I'm sure the strategies he's used to in the Wizrobes room. So he takes his 2 cycle ammo, not a big deal. Grabs a extra safety heart. He can also get a little bit more health here. These Wizrobes drop hearts. Yeah, the important thing was that he
yeah.
didn't run out of magic, which is good, because sometimes you can just forget what you're doing there, and then you leave that room, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta do bow whiz robes, which I have no idea how to do, so smart on Shady's side.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kyong, I actually didn't quite see what happened, but I did see a red armor at the very end, which is never a sight that you want to see. Unfortunately, Kyong ran out of arrows at the end, so you kind of had to slash him with the temper sword to kill the last one.
All right, you see Shady successfully lighting the torches. That can be tough to do when you're trying to get a PB. He's gonna... Ooh, that was close. He delayed a little bit, so he got the jingle before going up that flight of stairs. If you do that at the exact same time, then you will despawn all of the sprites in Ganon's Tower, and you have to start from the beginning again.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen Shady. So Shady lit the upper right torch first. So normally I've seen a lot of runners, I guess, like light the left side before that.
Yeah, that is kind of a rarer strategy that you saw from him, for sure. So now we get to our Moldorm refight here. A lot easier this time. Nice pattern on Moldorm's side, or Shady's side.
A really nice cannon ball. Read the RNG of the cannons properly, and was able to make us was able to dash all the ways through.
Yeah, so now we're heading into the Agonym 2 fight. Maybe one of the more challenging bosses to do well. He's going to give you somewhat random patterns. It's different than the first Agonym fight in that there are 2 clones which are always going to shoot those reflectable shots, but it's sometimes tough to get the right angle. This is a pretty good pattern he's got for his first shot here. Getting 2, no one's going to complain about 2.
Yeah, getting a 2-cycle Aga 2 is does require some luck. You probably want some good patterns, and you need no blue balls. You know, we actually started to see 2, just like that one that we saw on Shady's side. Ideally, we would get a 3-cycle, right? 2-2-2, 3-1-2, something like that. But
that was so close. I was kind of unlucky. That angle looked good to me, but it was just too far outside.
Alright, Shady making his way after Aga 2, so he's going to drop down on, of course, the most challenging boss of this game, which is Ganon himself. Does come in with, looks like, what, 6.5 hearts? So, Fire Bats do 4 hearts of damage, and Ganon himself does 8, so he has a little bit of cushion. Certainly, we can't hurt Ganon, but if we end up kind of getting sniped by a rogue Fire Bat, it's not going to be the end of the world for us.
Yeah, so you're going to see him slash Ganon 3 times here and set up a double spin off the trident. Now Ganon's going to warp to one of 4 locations. Takes a hit there. That's okay, though. I think he got the... no. Oh, no, Shady!
Shady!
I thought he had it.
Okay, so the good news is, of course, is that if you're going to take a Ganon death, you're going to take it early, right? It's going to be so much worse if you take it like phase 4 or like phase 3.
Yeah, so now the important thing for him is just to calm down. He knows he's not going to PB now, so he's just got to win the race. So just, take it slow. You know your strategies. That looked close as well. Yeah, I didn't think he quite got that one. So this is a tricky cycle 2 position for Ganon. So he's not going inside.
Oh no, Shady! Yeah. I was actually pretty surprised the trident didn't hit him the first time. So like he was kind of able to keep slashing. But like, jeez. I guess Fire Bats have Shady's number today. I guess also with every Ganon death, do you know if warps change at all?
I mean, it's kind of random every time, right? He didn't get the bottom right. So maybe that's kind of Shady's worst Ganon position. So hopefully he's a little bit better at bottom left, which it looks like considering he did get the 1-1 there. Well done. Okay, so now he's kind of out of the danger zone. These bats here only do 2 hearts damages instead of 4 hearts. And so the important thing for him is to get the torch glitch, because as you see, Kyong has just taken down Aga 2 and has made a lot of time back. See, opting for Fire Rod. That was close, Shady. Man, so he got the torch glitch. So it took 2 Fire Rod shots, but he is okay. He's okay on magic. So now you just gotta settle in, get some triples, and win the race is all you really need to think about.
Yeah, I think Shady is he's got his rhythm down. Looks like he has calmed himself down a bit. Kyong, meanwhile, taking on Ganon in his first phase. Taking probably standing in like the most safest part of where he can be, that inside the circle. Didn't leave early either, which is good. So it looks like he's already onto phase 3 to take any damage.
See Shady taking down Ganon. So GG's to Shady, who is going to win this race. Got a little scary at the end there. He's not going to PB, which is unfortunate, but still a 127.58 it looks like. So a really, really great time on his side.
Yeah, Shady. Get your GGs out in chat for Shady. Looked pretty dicey there for a bit, but so long as you win this race out, as long as you beat Kyong, that is the most important person to beat here.
He avoided the infinite Ganon, which has happened to the best of us. So he pulled it together, did what's important, and got it done to win the race. Exactly what you said. So we'll see. Looks like Shady's coming in here.
Yeah, Kyong is just about to finish up here. I haven't even counted how many spins he's got, but he has to be close.
I think it's just like a couple more. So we do have Shady joining us. GG's to you, Shady.
Hey, thanks so much, guys.
Shady.
Thank you.
And get your GG's out for Kyong as well, who had a pretty damn good run in a lot of places. It's just that kind of unfortunate cold stare death. Kept this. He really did claw some time back there in the end game.
Yeah, no, he had a really good Dark World and 3 gold splits from this run.
So Shady, how are you feeling? You got the win. That is the important thing. I don't know. Would you rather have gotten the 126 or the win? That is kind of the question I have.
The win. This is a tournament race. I want the win. PB will come later. I'll get a PB at any point, really. At some point, I'll get the 126. I'm not worried. So it's still, I'm much happier to get the win over someone like Kyong. It's a big win for me, really.
Yeah, and a really great run on your side. Was that your best Light World?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, 29.37 Light World is pretty incredible.
I think the only other sub 30 is like the one I had earlier today, or maybe I've had one more sub 30. I do not get good Light Worlds, but 0 blue balls helps a lot.
Yeah, certainly better than your 4 blue balls earlier, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Oh well, better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, so I guess was the NMG weekly just like a warm up, I guess, for you? Or were you planning on running that anyway?
Well, originally this race was going to be 9, so I usually do a warm up run before a tournament race if I have time, because I feel like I play better once I get all my mistakes out of the way in the warm up run. And the fact that the NMG weekly was just at that time just made it appropriate for. So I had a chance to join that.
Makes sense. I think we got Kyong in here as well. So GG's to you, Kyong.
GG's, Kyong.
GG, Kyong.
If you're speaking, Kyong, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So how are you feeling about that run? It looks like it was pretty good. I mean, obviously outside the cold stare death, I see you got 3 gold splits there. Assuming these are your actual splits. So how are you feeling about the run outside of that?
Pretty happy about it. Yeah, both of these golds are in segments. The bigger gold escape is kind of whatever. It's like, I don't know, a split second gold there. But yeah, Harry Meyer, I still haven't gotten a good segment yet. Even this gold today, both of them wasn't great, but pretty happy. Inching closer to the 123 sum of best.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got below the sub 124.10, which is always good. So let's see who you guys match up against next. Shady, you're taking on Gem, right?
He is indeed.
I kind of didn't expect this, so I wasn't really looking at the winners bracket.
Yeah, Shady, you're taking on Gem, and actually looks like the losers bracket is also available. Kyong's going to face Chimo. So very familiar names, actually.
Yeah.
All the rando dudes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you guys didn't decide to race like spoiler log for this instead.
I would have a much less of a chance in spoiler logs. Kyong is too good at that mode.
I suppose it would depend if Cold Stare was a crystal or not.
That's true.
Have you like been playing NMG or Link to the Past? I guess like recently, Kyong. Like, did you get a chance to warm up or anything before this?
If you saw me opening the game, I had to delete my file names against the Apathy, so that was the last time I did that. I did do some warm up, especially since we had an extra hour. So I mean, I guess I killed some bosses and did some runs through GT, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess Shady looks like you got your revenge match against Kyong.
I did.
Now
I
you
guess
guys
it's
were
one each.
1-1.
So
Yeah.
maybe we'll be facing each other again in the losers bracket at some point for for the decider.
Oh boy.
I don't know how the draw works out. Maybe we won't. But
Maybe you guys will meet up each other in the finals.
Yeah, I don't think anybody understands this bracket, to be honest.
Usually when this kind of situation happens, it would take a while for a rematch in losers bracket, but yeah, I haven't paid too much attention to how the bracket is actually built.
Yeah, if I remember correctly from other races with that format of a tournament, I think you shouldn't be able to have a rematch until the finals. But I
Yeah,
could be
sounds about
mistaken.
right, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was like that.
Can I just give a shout out to Bwayne, as I understand he's the only person who picked me to beat Kyong. So this one's for you, Bwayne. Tournament daddy.
Bwayne! Woo! Okay. Well, anyway, is there anything left that you really want to shout out to the world before we start wrapping up?
Just thanks so much, guys, for commenting. Matt, I know this is the second race you've commented of mine, and I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to watching it back. I wasn't really listening to the audio, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it. And thanks for the restream and everything.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks to you guys for a great race.
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
was
great.
definitely a really great race to watch. You guys were actually, I mean, up until basically Cold Stare, you guys were just neck and neck. Really, really tense and exciting race to watch.
Yeah. Well then, thank you, Clear and Matt, for commentating on this, and also thank you, Shady and Kyong, for participating in this tournament. We will probably rate over to Louis underscore now because he is one of the only people streaming NMG speedruns right now, and I think that's really fitting. And if you can't get enough of Zelda speedruns, then probably tomorrow there will be some more races of the NMG tournament. If they are happening, it would be Apathy Duck versus York, Someone 325 versus Liam Atlas, Tem versus Vortex of Doom, and Blue Sentio versus Pika Pelts. And I really hope you will have a great time watching these here on Zelda Speedruns, and see you next time.